Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, hey, my name is Garrick. I'm a photographer here in the Midwest. I shoot pretty much anything: architecture, landscape, portraits, sports, macro, street, you name it, I shoot it. Mostly with the Nikon D850. I also get out with my Nikon D500 and occasionally shoot with my little Canon EOS M50, which I'm recording this video on right now. So thanks a lot for stopping by the channel. I truly appreciate it. And in today's video, I'm going to share 5 or so tips that I wish I knew when I had first started photography. These are things that I learned the hard way or took forever to learn, and I'm hoping these tips will help you avoid some of the hurdles I had to jump over and get you started in a quicker fashion than I did. Alright, so let's jump right in. Alright, tip number 1, and to me this is probably the most important one. Use a tripod. Using a tripod just forces you to slow down, and when you slow down you start to think more about what you're doing. You start to think more about your composition. You start to think more about your settings. You start to think more about how you want to set up your camera and your composition to capture the vision that you have in your head. You don't have to buy a super expensive tripod. You can get a tripod at Goodwill or Salvation Army, anything like that. They always have tripods in there. So go there, get one cheap, and just learn how to use it. Make yourself slow down and think about your composition a little bit more. So yeah, so that's tip number 1. Alright, the next tip, and it kind of coincides with using a tripod, and that is using an L bracket. So if you don't know what an L bracket is, you can Google it. It's simply connecting plate put on the bottom of your camera, screws into the 1/4-inch screw hole in the bottom of your camera. And an L bracket is going to allow you to simply, quickly, and most efficiently go from landscape orientation to portrait orientation. And when you're out shooting landscapes or portraits or macro, whatever you're out doing, switching from landscape to portrait, switching orientations is important because you want to capture both landscape and portrait orientation just so you have the ability to take it back into Lightroom or whatever program you're putting it into. You might find that you like one orientation better than the other one, so you'll be glad that you had it. So that's tip number 2. Get yourself an L bracket. And when you buy an L bracket, you don't have to buy the most expensive one out there. You can get a knockoff brand. I have a brand called Sunway on both my D850 and my D500. The important thing to remember is if you can get one that matches specifically to the camera body that you want to put it on, do that, because then it won't block any of the ports that you want to use or block the screen or anything like that. So that's the one thing you want to be sure that you do. And tip number 3, shoot in RAW. When I first started, I would always shoot in JPEG. I didn't think shooting in RAW was worth it. But if I could go back now to some of those images that I took 20 years or so when I first bought a digital camera, I wish that I would have been shooting in RAW. When you shoot in RAW, you're collecting so much more data, and it allows you to do so much more in post-processing. You're going to be able to recover more shadows for sure. You'll be able to recover some highlights, not if the highlights are blown out, but you will definitely be able to recover more for sure. And when you can recover your highlights, recover your shadows, obviously it just gives you more expertise and detail when you're trying to get that exposure perfectly right in post-processing. So if you're not shooting RAW right now, I strongly encourage you to give it a try. I think you'll find it really helpful, especially in post-processing when you're trying to pull out detail in those shadow areas, the darker areas. Alright, the next tip, and some people might find this one surprising, and my guess is this is the one that most of you are not doing, and that is back button focus. I will tell you, when I started back button focusing, I hated it. I couldn't get used to it. I had been focusing with the half shutter press, my whole life. And doing the back button focus is like, the guy that talked me into trying it, he told me it was, so much better, so much faster, so much more accurate. And I was like, when I first started doing it, it's like, no way, this is not worth it. I'm missing more shots than I'm getting. But as I got used to it, and it took me a little bit of time, I just found I will not go back. I taught my wife how to back button focus. So it's so much faster. You're always focusing, right? You've got your thumb on the back button focus button. You're always focusing, especially if you're shooting action, sports. It is so helpful. But I shoot back button focus when I'm doing portraits, when I'm doing landscape, when I'm doing architecture. That's all I do anymore, and it's really upped my photography game. It's changed the way that I shoot images. It's changed the way that I use my camera, and all for the better. All right, and the next tip, and this one might be the hardest to learn really well, and it's something I didn't really pick up until later on in my photography life, if you will, and that is really learn to use the light. Whether it's the available ambient light that you have, like in this room that I'm in right now, or if you're outside and you want to shoot, a outdoors portrait, or you're outside shooting landscape, it is so critically important to learn and understand the light that you're dealing with. When I first started in photography, I was thinking, you know what, a bright sunny day is the best time to get out and shoot. And I would turn my subjects so they're actually looking into the sun, and I would shoot their portraits, and it's like, oh my God. Looking back at them now, it's just, they're so awful. The subject is squinting, but and the light is harsh, and it's just awful. It makes them look terrible. But back then, that's the way I thought that you had to do it. You want that best light, you want that brightest light on your subject, and no, that's not the case at all. You don't want that harsh, contrasty light in most situations. So, that kind of really blew me away when I finally learned that an overcast day, beautiful, diffused light, perfect for shooting portraits. It's like mind-blowing to me, because when you go out and you've got an overcast day and you shoot a few portraits out in that light, and you just see the difference, how the shadows are all filled in, the light is perfectly balanced. It's just it's such a huge difference when you compare and contrast it to when you were shooting maybe the same person out on that sunny day and you had him or her facing into the sun like I was doing when I first started. It's unbelievable, the difference. So, and obviously, golden hour, both sunrise and sunset are just gorgeous times to get out and shoot whatever you want to shoot. Portraits, landscape for sure. So take advantage of the golden hours, sunrise and sunset. You don't have to get out and just shoot a sunrise or a sunset, but get out at those times of day and take advantage of that soft golden light. You will love it. It will totally improve your photography game. Alright, and the last tip is, and some of you out there are probably going to poo-poo this one because you're traditionalists, experienced, serious photographers, but I'm going to put this out there, and that is, don't be afraid to let the camera do some of the work for you. Obviously, you want to learn to get off of aperture priority and shutter priority. You want to learn to be able to shoot in manual. because that unleashes the true power of the whatever camera body that you're using. The unleashes the true power and creativity of whatever camera body you're using. But also, don't lose good shots because you're too proud to turn it to aperture priority or shutter priority or even program for that matter. I was out shooting street photography in Chicago just last week, and because there are so many different things to shoot, it was a target rich environment and everything was moving. I just went to shutter priority and went with the 1/250th of a second shutter speed, went to auto ISO and had the lowest ISO being like 100 and the max ISO being 8,000, something like that. And I was shooting with my D500, and every image, and I shot 400 or 500 images that day on the streets of Chicago, and every single one was exposed properly. Were they composed properly? No, because I was shooting from the hip and doing things like that. And when you're shooting from the hip, that's even more reason to go to aperture priority, because you can let the camera do the work for you. And you just kind of recognize and see the images around you, especially street photography. Let the camera do the work for you. And I'll tell you, I ended up with 50 keepers, which is a crazy amount for me. So yeah, so last tip of the day, don't be afraid, don't be too proud to let the camera do some of the work for you. It's not a bad thing. So alright, that's like 5 or 6 tips that I wish I had known when I first started my photography journey. And if you guys take these tips to heart, I promise you it'll elevate your photography game. And that's even if you're a beginner, somewhat advanced, or somebody that considers themselves an expert. These tips will help you elevate your game. There's no doubt in my mind. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment if there's any tips that you would recommend, anything that you feel like I missed. Please go ahead and drop a comment. Let everybody know what you think. And with that, I am Garrick, and I am your very best friend in the whole wide world. And we will see you next time, everybody. Thanks so much for stopping. Bye-bye.